This is the common area landscape workshop. We will be taking questions and answers at the end of the meeting. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. When recognized, the presenter approach the microphone, state your full name and your SCA address or village. Be brief and concise and try not to duplicate questions previously asked. The presenters may interrupt or terminate a member's statement if it is personal, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or exceeds the time limit. Pat Carroll will be starting off with an introduction, and then we're going to turn it over to staff for the presentation.
Thanks, Candace. As the board's liaison to the facility,
Forgot something. The SCA-TV is going to film this just as they did film yesterday's, and that will be out on their website. And the presentations will be out on the SCA.org website. So just so you know, if you know neighbors or something that want to go out and look at the presentations, they will be out on our website. Sorry, Deb.
okay, thanks, Candace. As Candace mentioned, I'm going to be the moderator of the workshop this morning. I'm the liaison from the board to the Facilities and Landscape Committee. And I want to introduce to my right Art Lindbergh, who is also a liaison from the board to the same Facilities and Landscape Committee. We've got our other board members present, and we have management present. Unfortunately, Sean Evans, the Director of Facilities, who was going to be making the presentation this morning, was unable to attend due to an emergency. So we've got an able substitute in Sandy Seddon, our General Manager. I also want to introduce Bruce Litchfield and Barry Rubison, Chair and Vice Chair, respectively, of the Facilities and Landscape Committee, a committee made up of our fellow residents. And I'm going to ask Bruce to introduce the other members of the committee who are sitting up in the front row.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you for attending. We're very pleased. We only expected about 25 to 50 people, and it looks like we have far exceeded that. Thank you for attending. I hope the information that we give you will be relevant to what you're expecting. I want to introduce my committee. As you know, the facility, you may not know, the Facilities and Landscape Committee is a rebirth of the old Property and Grounds Committee. We've been in existence for almost two and a half years now, and I've been chairman for the last year. I want to introduce Gary Rubinson, the vice chair of this committee. He's a retired computer geek, it says. Bill Kinsikowicki is, I murdered that, didn't I? He's our secretary, and he's an insurance executive. Mickey Sarkin, is Mike Mickey here? I don't believe so. He's a retired nurseryman from California and has been very helpful to us. David Rosner is retired, and he lives here. Thank you, David. And Howie Gallon, he's the ex-chairman of the Garden Club and has an extreme knowledge on cactus and succulents. Bruce Stanley is a retired software administrator. And John Ray Egelhoff is not here. He's a retired post office executive. He was responsible for all the post offices in California, Arizona and Nevada. He's been a big asset to our committee. And Jackie Carroll is our new member, and she's a retired property manager. So all of the committee members have a broad background in handling the kind of things that we're working with. And I'm a retired landscape contractor, and I've been in Las Vegas here for 50 years, and I had a business for 35. Okay, Sandy, would you like to continue?
Bruce, hang on just a minute. I want to give a little bit of an overview of what we're going to try to do in the workshop today before we turn it over to the presentation. What we are going to do first, of course, is hear the presentation. Then we'll take any comments from the board and staff, and of course, any comments then that Barry or Bruce or any members of the Facilities and Landscape Committee wish to make. And then after we hear all those comments, we will then open it up to the floor for your comments. The focus of the workshop, as Candace indicated in her introduction, is on the common areas that are the responsibility of Sun City Anthem to maintain. We are not going to be talking about property that belongs to individual homeowners. We're not going to be talking about property that may appear to be Sun City Anthem's responsibility because it lies within our geographic area, but is actually the property of either the Revere Golf Course or the property of the Anthem Community Council. The Anthem Community Council is responsible for everything around the loop, the Anthem Parkway, Anthem Drive loop. So we are not going to be touching on those properties. We're going to limit our workshop to focus on the responsibilities that SCA has for our common areas. A little bit of background about how we got here today. Of course, our developer, Del Webb, installed most of the common area landscaping about 20 years ago, and of course made everything look lush and green. Here we are 20 years later, and much of the landscaping is overgrown. The irrigation systems are failing. The costs of water and of plant maintenance are rising, and many plantings are actually inappropriate for our desert location. Only the Liberty Center, which opened in 2010, has appropriate desert landscaping. The Facilities and Landscape Committee has been working closely with management for more than a year and a half on all of these issues. So what you're going to learn today in the workshop is what the Facilities and Landscape Committee and management are jointly proposing to address these issues going forward. The changes they are proposing make sense for our desert location, and they will not happen overnight. These are changes that may take us years to accomplish, one area at a time. So I'm now going to turn it over to Sandy, who will make the presentation with, I understand, some commentary from Bruce along the way.
Good morning. Thank you, Pat. Just a couple comments before we get into the PowerPoint presentation, which is a short, maybe 15 or 16 slides, so we won't hold you hostage and sit you here for an hour as I speak. We'll go through it quickly and allow you to, provide some comment to us. I'm actually very, very excited to be able to work with the Facilities and Landscape Committee and staff to roll out, hopefully, a plan that will be acceptable to the residents here at Sun City Anthem. One of the things that I think about is sometimes in an HOA as large as Sun City Anthem, we focus on your amenities in your clubhouses. We focus on your parking lots and your tables and your walls and your replastering of pools and so forth. And the thing here that hasn't really been focused on is the area outside of those buildings, the landscape, the common area, and you will see we describe for you what the current issues are and what our plan is to move forward to address those. And at some point in this presentation, way down at the end, is Forrest Quinn, the board treasurer, and he and I agreed, while it's not in the presentation, we want to talk to you about funding, we want to talk to you about where this money is planned for, and also share with you some costs that we spend annually on your common area landscape, not only in this common area, but in these villa neighborhoods and Pinnacle as well. It's not a small number, so we want to share that with all of you as we move forward. So now I'll get into the presentation. And I do want to just say I'm really sorry that Sean can't be here, and he is equally sorry. He would if he could, just an emergency, and hopefully I do this presentation that he put together with Elisa justice. So anyway, I will be turning and deferring to Bruce potentially during the presentation. So here we go. So the landscape background and your current issues here are your common area landscape, and the fact that it's 90% of it or so is about 20 years old. Tired, outdated, dead, and dying trees and shrubs. And please don't judge me if I read directly from the slide, but you'll catch the drift as we go on. But you will see in these photos, these are the areas that we're talking about. You have irrigation systems out there that are failing or way past their life expectancy. Miles and miles of irrigation that is very hard for us to get our arms around and understand exactly how, what the condition is. And you know, up until this point, your landscaper, along with staff and maybe the board in the past, has addressed it, you know, fixing a drip or maybe fixing a main line when it breaks. But what we're really talking about is a system in areas that is 20 years old that needs to be completely replaced. So as Pat has already stated, this isn't going to happen overnight. The landscape committee and your management team are working on priorities and establishing a timeline and so forth to move through and to address these in a systematic way, and to also create a plan that isn't piecemealed, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, that there's an actual plan that we have in place to create a specific look so one area fits in with another area, and we aren't just going in and 1 year doing an area that looks one way and then a new committee comes in and we say, oh, we want to change that. That's not the goal, but we'll talk about that as we get further along into the presentation. You also may know that when Del Webb builds a property, they want instant beauty for you. They want lush and green, and a lot of times a developer will overplant. And so you will see areas that are overplanted. A perfect example of that is maybe, not in, Pat, don't roll your eyes, but Anthem Council on that loop. There's a tremendous amount of potential overplanting there that the developer did. Not our area, but just pointing out, we have that in our common areas in some places as well. We have plants that impede the line of sight often too when you're driving, and we try to address those. Residents report them to us. Sometimes they're not in our area's jurisdiction, and we try to guide folks to the right areas, but that is another concern here within our common areas. Some of our current issues, obviously the rising cost of water. If you were here yesterday at the presentation related to enforcement on the individual homes and compliance, that was a topic that we discussed. We understand that. We understand it for you as residents in your personal finances as well as what you pay to the association. And so we're looking at that and trying to address that to be responsible with conservation, but also to be the most efficient and to create a nice look, appealing look, but also in any way possible to try to conserve water and to not pay as much. We do have areas with risk management concerns for potential slip and falls. The irrigation that was installed maybe wasn't the appropriate irrigation at that time. There's overspray onto walkways and so forth that we attempt to address. In addition to the fact that it could be risk management, it's also wasteful, and you know, it potentially damages the concrete in the area around it. So all of those things need to be looked at and considered as we move forward with changing out our landscape. So, what are we doing to solve these issues? Well, the board approved the hiring of a landscape designer. Probably, Bruce, how many meetings, how many months ago did that happen?
That started back in January, and we interviewed half a dozen companies, and several of them just weren't interested in helping us. We got bids from 3 of them, and we decided on a company called First Choice Landscape to give us an overall plan. We call it a master plan that we will follow in regards to new planning over the years. So we're not going to go haphazardly replacing plants without this plan to refer to. And in that plan are guidelines of exactly how the plant's to be installed, how it's to be irrigated. We have a master plant palette of about 35 plants that we highly recommend be included in the landscaping. And of course, all of the residents are available. That plant palette and the guidelines will be available to you. Does that answer it?
That answers it. What he's referring to here is this finished product that we received by First Choice, which is basically our Bible to follow as we move forward with our landscape changes. The cost of that was $9,800. They also prepared the first renderings that we're going to show you for the first area that we're going to roll out to you here in our common area. Yes. go
We
ahead.
also have this 77-page plan available on a chip here. So it will be on the website, and you'll be able to access that and answer all of your questions.
Great, thank you. So the idea is to transition maybe less turf, maybe a different look to a zero-scape landscape concept throughout our common areas, and hopefully address many of the issues that we've talked about already this morning. I think it was Pat or Candace, one of them mentioned the Liberty Center. We're not talking about areas that are drastic with just a bunch of rock and cactus and very sparse. We're talking about green, there's still potentially trees, plants that are desert friendly. I hope you like that look up at Liberty. We think it's a very lovely look, and it was a first attempt and a first opportunity for us to change the landscape and maybe become more water friendly and think of conservation. And so you will see in these renderings that we're kind of going in that direction. So some of the benefits of converting, obviously, we're being proactive. We already talked about that with water conservation. Potential reduced maintenance within the costs for the association's landscape contractor, less trimming and care needed. As we move through this, there's an opportunity for us to look at that contract when we bid it and hopefully keep those costs down for you as residents. Reduce maintenance in areas by staff, and then curb the yearly increase of water consumption costs. Forrest, I'm going to turn to you right now because I think this is a great slide for you to discuss what we spend annually here at the association, share some of those costs with the residents.
Thank you. In total, between the water, electricity, and landscaping for all our 6 associations, for those of you who don't know, we have there's a main association, 4 villas in Pinnacle, plus the reserve. We're spending almost $900,000 a year in landscaping issues. And most of that is landscaping contract. But the second leading item is water itself, $303,000 a year for landscaping water. One of the problems with that water bill is we have a number of smaller meters that are maybe $60 or $70 a month. But only $10 of that is water. The rest of it is taxes and the meter fee. So even if you cut the water consumption by half on some of those lines, you're not really saving that much. Another problem we have is, and we're taking care of that this year, some of it is, at one point I think we had 27 meters that controlled the irrigation lines for the time of day the water was pumped. Those meters actually did not draw any electricity, so the bill was zero, except the meter charge was about $30 a month. So we're replacing some of those with battery operated controllers or maybe solar and that stuff, so we're trying to cut the prices there. And we just added, for the villas, we added over $1 million in controllers in the reserve study this year, which is going to have quite a bit of impact on that. That's what I have.
Thank you, Forrest. So, and Forrest, is it true, is it a fair statement that with this current reserve study, this is the first time that we've added a specific line item in the reserves to deal with on an annual basis these large areas, the overhaul, the massive projects that we're about to talk about?
That's correct. For 2018, there's an allowance in there for $200,000 a year forever to replace large areas for trees, irrigation controllers, and things like that that are running out. From year to year, there's also a line on the operating budget that they call landscaping extras. And that might total $20,000 a year, and that's for replacing an individual plant or item here and there. But the larger one is for repairing or replacing entire areas of landscaping.
Thank you. So we already mentioned the converting to the xeriscape landscaping and the plant palette that First Choice has worked with management and the Facilities and Landscape Committee on putting together. And as part of that process, they put together the first area that we're going to roll out to you now and show you in some slides here. And that's basically the entranceway here coming into the Anthem and Independence Center, the roundabouts and those medians, and some areas up here by the Anthem Center Clubhouse. So Bruce, I'm looking at you, and here's our first xeriscape. This is a rendering that was put together. Do you have any comments about it?
Yes, this is one of 3 areas that we're going to be landscaping. This happens to be one of 3 or 4 renderings of the area in front of the fitness center. You people call this their special door number, or whatever. Anyway, one of the reasons this is being done or being considered is that it is a slip and fall issue. Over the years, we've had several people fall because of the irrigation water, the lawn that is there now. And this is going to be eliminated by the desert landscaping and the crushed rock, and the irrigation, of course, will be drip irrigation under the ground.
And Bruce, when we go out to bid on this, there's also some ability to have some rebates as we remove turf, is that
Yes,
correct?
the Southern Nevada Water Authority is now giving us up to $3 a square foot reimbursement for replacing grass with desert landscaping.
And I think I just want to add, nobody get nervous about the backside of your clubhouse. We understand how that's used and that you do movie nights and a bunch of other activities out there. But if there's an opportunity to remove turf in other places and still have some aesthetically pleasing areas, to obtain a rebate, to be thoughtful and have some conservation, I'm sure that this management team and the landscape committee are going to probably move in that direction.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's another rendering, Bruce.
Okay, this is to the left of the door, and if you notice, there's that big tree on the left corner, and there's a margin there between where the crushed rock will meet the existing grass. And to scale that's pretty appropriate. If you notice the first planter that kind of is a crescent shape, that will be very attractive. There'll be a monument sign in it, and then the contour will be slightly raised so it'll be attractive. It won't be flat like a pancake. And we have plants, and we'll go over, if you wish, some of those plants by name. I don't know how detailed we want to get.
Yeah, no, maybe not by name.
But we do have them. They're all planned for.
Okay, and want to describe this location?
That is to the right of the entrance. That wall represents the locker rooms for the women on the other side. And again, the grass is being removed. That dark thing in the front is the pavement, sidewalk, plants, more sidewalk, and then those 3 tall things in the back. That is ocotillo, which is a desert plant with a beautiful red flower at the top.
Okay, here's a roundabout.
Okay, kind of before we go to the roundabout, I wanted to explain. So we have basically 3 areas that we're going to be trying this new landscape concept. The first area is in front of the fitness area, the fitness building. The second area is where the flagpole roundabout is, right out front here. And the other areas are the 4 center medians going up to Hampton Road. And we decided on that because it was very manageable for the first landscaping, and it would give our residents a look immediately on how the rest of it might look in 15, 20 years. This is not going to be done all at once, but we do have to start someplace, and that's where we've decided to start.
I guess too, I'll add on this roundabout here, it's an opportunity for us as we're redoing it to add the appropriate electricity here at this time so that those flagpoles can be lighted correctly instead of the way they currently are. So we're looking forward to that, to be able to have those lights on those flags at night.
And I might add, currently, the existing plants in there, in this roundabout, flagpole roundabout, we have at least 3 large palm trees. And the plan is to move those palm trees and plant them to complement the fountain at the back side of the building here.
Okay, and we're moving to one of the medians that's going up towards Hampton Road here at the main entrance.
Okay, I would hope, but I don't think we have before and after pictures, but I have a large portfolio of photographs that indicate why we want to do this. When you leave today and you look at those planters, the 4 planters, you will agree, I would hope, that they're pretty sad looking. The plants are 20 years old at least, and they've just reached their maturity. Half of the plants have been removed and purposely not replaced because we wanted to have our plan to work with.
Okay, so the last 3 slides I'm going to move through rather quickly because they are basically some sample legends for the roundabout and medians. And again, we won't go plant by plant. These will be available, this PowerPoint will be online. You can come to the office to see this whole plan as well as what was developed by First Choice for us. And that's what that last slide indicates. And Bruce?
What you're looking at today will be on our website in detail. For instance, I wanted to, if it's all right, just mention some of the plants that are going to be included. I will give you the common names only. We're going to use bunny ears cactus, artichoke agave, century plant, golden barrel cactus, gopher plant, Mexican grass tree, red yucca, morning bush glory, dwarf yopon holly, Texas mountain laurel, and soap tree yucca, and others. And we're not limited to these.
And Pat, I'm just about to turn it over to you, but I just wanted to talk about next steps with this particular project would be that management would need to go out to bid on those areas that we just described for you. It would need to be a sealed bid project, so those sealed bids would be open at a board meeting. And the board, we would then make a recommendation to them at a future meeting and hopefully gain approval to move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandy and Bruce. First, are there any comments from any of the board members?
I'd just like to say that I found this very attractive. I think it's going to make our common areas more crisp and clean, and I really think that they've done a great job on this.
Any comments from staff? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure that everyone recognizes the amount of work that the committee has done on this. This is the distillation of all of the work that they've done, and we certainly couldn't have done without it. So this is why we have committees of volunteers to help the board accomplish things, and they've certainly done the job they were expected to do here. So thanks very much, Bruce.
Thank you. I have one more.
Just a minute. Any other board members or the staff? I'm going to get back to Bruce and the committee in a minute. Okay. Bruce, you have anything else, or your committee members have anything else they want to comment on?
Yes, I want to make it clear about the responsibility that Sun City Anthem and their management, Sandy and Group, they are responsible for 4 areas of Anthem community here. And I said Anthem community, not Anthem Center, or Anthem. The Sun City Anthem management people are responsible for the rec centers, the 2 rec centers, actually 3. The 3, Liberty, Independence, and Anthem right here. They're responsible for the Pinnacle area. They're responsible for the 4 or 5 villas and the common area. Now here's the surprising thing. That only represents approximately 26 acres. Here in the Anthem community, we have approximately 90 acres under landscape cultivation. So that means the other 75% is controlled by Anthem Council. Now, when you leave here today, often you'll say, well, my gosh, what are these people doing? Don't they see those plants that are dead or need trimming? Usually, what you're looking at is out of our purveyance. It's Anthem Council's responsibility. So that's very important to know, that we only have 26 acres that we're responsible for.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments from Barry, from you? Committee members? Well, if not, then I think we're ready to open it for questions and comments from residents. I just want to remind you again what Candace said about trying to keep your comments to 2 minutes, please. Please try not to repeat comments that have already been made. Come to the microphone and give us your name and your village or your street address. And please line up. We've got 2 microphones. I hope they're both on and working. And testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing. No, there you go.
That one's working. How about the other one? You want to test out the other one? Yeah. Okay, they're both working, so please start. Go ahead.
All right, thanks, Beth. Art Schutz on Fort Myer Avenue. On the Finance Committee, we've been looking at budgets.
Eat the microphone.
On the Finance Committee, we've of course been looking at long-term budgets and working, to support forests and reserve studies. And we've become very concerned about the long-term affordability of villas and their associations. And so one of the recommendations, which will be in your board book for this week, is that you start an effort similar to this for the areas that are common to the villas. Not part of the association, but they're part of the villa associations, because they are probably the worst example of being over a landscape with giant pine trees and grass and so forth. And I think while the villas have their own association, they do, after all, pay main association dues, and I think they're as entitled to the consulting expertise of this committee as anybody else. So we would encourage you to take on another effort in parallel to this one to work with villa owners to consider their landscaping issues before they, run out of money paying the water bills.
Art, it's my understanding, sir, thank you very much for your comments. It's my understanding that the Anthem management people are concerned about all of these areas. We're just starting here at the Anthem Center, but certainly the village is under consideration.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Dennis Dobson, I live in Essex Village, and I want to thank all of you for stepping up to the plate. You've done an excellent job. In years past, there has been virtually nothing done to address the problems. My concern is now, if I get this right, we're budgeting $200,000 a year. To me, that seems wholly inadequate. Otherwise, most of us might not even be here when this evening for reaching that project. The other is, in the meantime, in the areas that you're not addressing, and at some point will, is how do you address the water issues to keep what we have alive? You're still dying. The trees are still dying. They aren't getting enough water for various reasons. How do we maintain what we have until corrective action is made? The other, I want to address Bruce in talking about Anthem Councils has the majority of the property, but Anthem Council there's areas wholly within Sun City, and especially along Anthem Drive from the storage center down there. It looks terrible. And I know it's Anthem Council's public. We're the largest contributor to Anthem Council. It seems like we ought to be addressing, having a little bit more input to get those done in a more timely manner, because it affects how our community looks. That's all.
Well,
Mr. Thompson, thank you very much. Art Lindbergh here is going to answer that because he's on the council.
I'm a member of the Anthem Council, and we are currently discussing this specific issue with Mark West, who is the president of the council. Just for informational purposes, we do contribute $600,000 a year through the council for maintenance of the various landscape and other.
Well, wait a minute, Art, that's not actually correct. We give them $600,000 a year for the maintenance of everything. That includes insurance, lighting.
I think that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And it covers more than landscaping. But and the amount is based on the number of roofs in the various residence areas. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to be coming up with a good working relationship with the council. They've given every indication that they want to cooperate. They see the same problems that we have, that being the cost of water and the availability of water being a major issue. And when you look out here and you see so much of the vegetation that was put in 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and you look at how often that is being trimmed so it looks decent, we have too much maintenance costs going into that area. These are the issues that are being addressed. The first project, as was stated earlier, is this coming down from Hampton down to the, well, it's in the papers that were handed out. And hopefully there will be virtually universal approval of this approach. And with that, we can then start to go into a more comprehensive plan. But the days of just ignoring it or staying with what we had, they're over. We have to make some changes, and we're preparing for that.
I'd just like to add that the committee will be channeling their help and recommendations through Art, who is our official representative to Anthem Council. So the committee will have, they will be represented with the recommendations that they have made. Thank you.
These are outstanding individuals, and we're all lucky to have them helping us with this.
Hi, I'm Stella Giordano from Ridgecrest Village. I want to thank the committee and all the volunteers that put this together. It's a great plan. The line of sight has always been a problem in our community. And even the line of sight right in front of the center here at the roundabout. I have been almost hit a couple of times because people do not see you. They do not stop at the stop sign, and will come around that roundabout and can almost hit you. My question is, again, since we only own 26% of the grounds in the Anthem area, and the Anthem Council has to be the person or be the group that takes care of our circle, that also is the line of sight that I see, that if I report something and it's in the Anthem Council, do we report it to management here, or do we report it to you, or who do we report that to? Because as I drive around the council area, I see a lot of line of sight. Again, I live on the corner of Hayden Creek and Holden Run and Sunset Anthem. I see a lot of traffic, I see a lot of accidents, Thunder Bay, Hayden Creek, and I know it's part of it is line of sight. So that's my biggest issue.
I'd like to address that. We have just recently, over the last month, come up with an agreement from council and our people here that we will follow up with any complaints that you folks get to either board members or the committee or what have you. The beautiful part of what we're doing, in my estimation, is that we are becoming more of a team with the council. And we tended not to be a team, and this is our responsibility and that's yours, and have these dividing lines. They work well, but it's not a team effort. And we need to work together with the council. They seem extremely willing to do the same thing, work with us.
And one last thing, how is our communications and cooperation with the golf course? If you've come up Anthem, from Sun City Anthem to Sun City Anthem, the golf course and ground on the other side, those two down seem to be being maintained, either that they're coming into the street again, that are going over the lines of the sidewalks or the curbs.
We have the same issue with that we have with council. In fact, I think it was just yesterday, was Jim here, Jim Tolman. Yeah. Can you share with the people here what you're up to there?
Well, this is an issue that arose basically, I live on the golf course and it was being overgrown, and so I approached the general manager of the golf course and said, we've got a problem. In the meantime, I got a letter from another resident who said it's not only a problem with the golf course, but it's a problem with the entire community with respect to what the golf course is responsible for. And so the general manager agreed that after they finished with the overseeding for the second golf course, they finished with the first one, that we would sit down and he would outline a plan for taking care of not only the issues for the residents on number 5 on the golf course, but taking a look at what was happening overall.
Well, thank you.
Excuse me, say your name, ma'am.
Stella Giordano.
Stella, I just wanted to add to you that from an operational standpoint, on a regular basis, we get contacted by residents here at SCA related to areas that fall under Anthem Council or the golf course. We funnel those through back to the appropriate points of contact, and then if it's an Anthem Council issue, we also like to keep Art in the loop on that, so he's aware of the frequency and what our residents are seeing out there. So hopefully, sometimes it takes more than just one effort to do that, but you're always welcome to contact us.
And also one of the provisions in this new 2018 contract that we have with Brightview Management Landscape is that we meet with Brightview every Tuesday morning, 52 weeks a year. The Anthem Council meets with Brightview 4 times a year.
All right, I guess you're going to get that changed. Thank you.
I'm working on it.
All right, next.
Good morning, I'm Joan Wright, I live in Mountain View Villas. And I thank you for all the work you do. It's not an easy job, and as the song says, you can't please everybody. But the bane of our existence there is the pine trees. Now, I understand logically they can't be removed. They're 20 years old. They look worse than I do. They need to be trimmed, and they leave such debris. We cannot find the common areas, the rocks or whatever. Everything is covered in pine needles. I'm like a crazy loon and out sweeping the road at the curbside because I get crazy with all these leaves, these needles. I have my courtyard taken care of by a landscaper, and he has said to me several times, would you like me to clean outside your wall? I would love it. But why would I pay him and you to keep the common area clean? They do not blow anything, this bright whatever. They're grass cutters. He runs through like his tail is on fire, and that ends it. All the needles are all under our bushes out front. Pine cones, if you want to make roots, listen, I'll gather them up, I'll sell them to you. They don't do anything but cut the grass in the front. I understand everybody is overworked and underpaid, but really? I could send a 10-year-old out and get a better job than they do, and if I go out, that supervisor with the 2 initials, whatever his name is, he's quite belligerent if I say something to him. I had one point where my bushes were so overgrown, I couldn't get up from my driveway to the sidewalk to my gate. Now, really? So, I mean, all right, I know I'm over
Mrs. Wright.
my chat.
Thank you for your comments. The comment that you're making is more adequate to hear at our regular facilities and landscape meeting that we have basically the first Tuesday of every month. But I welcome all of you to come to that meeting and make this type of comment because that's where it'll be addressed. And I understand, and your comments are very appropriate. The trees that you're talking about, the Pinus alberica, unfortunately, we've just finished the time of year when they shed very, very bad.
Shed all year round.
Well, okay.
And they come right up to my door, front door, and literally ring my doorbell.
Mrs. Wright, thank you very much.
Okay, I think Bruce will raise that with Brightview in their next get together. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Brenda Graff, and I live in Clubhouse Village, and I'd also like to address the villas. I noticed that one of the mandates is 2 trees in every yard, and the villas don't have room for 2 trees. We only have like 15 feet of grass area, and it's very, with the piping going through the water and the sewer, it really poses a hazard to 2 trees. It's just too much. Also, I'd like for the council to be mindful that the villas do pay
Excuse
their
me,
own.
this is not the council.
Oh, okay, well, I'd like the board to be mindful that the villas do pay their own water and maintenance bill. And there's some really strong feelings for keeping the grass when it comes time to make those considerations. Our highest bill is the water, but it's not the actual water usage, it's the commercial rates and the size of the pipes that drive up our water and all the other additional fees associated with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you recognize what we're doing here this morning. Meeting with so many people is fantastic. And to get your comments, we do truly respect your comments and will incorporate all that we possibly can. The number of trees, if the property is too small, we can go through the ARC or some other committees to try to address those. We don't need one tree growing 2 feet away from another tree. And we are making progress on this. I mean, this is, it has gotten so much attention over the last, let's say, 5-6 months in particular. And I see the fruits of the efforts here this morning. And if we have more in the future, and I'm sure that there will be, please encourage your friends to join in also. And then you can also talk to board members, you can talk to staff, and share your thoughts, because they are very important in continuing to have a facility here that we can all be very proud of.
Thanks, sir. Next.
Hi, my name is Pat Good, and I live in Tall Mesa Village. I want to thank every one of you for doing this wonderful plan. It is long overdue. Our CC&Rs, or whatever you want to call them, are 20 years old. Okay, so what was appropriate 20 years ago is no longer appropriate now, and we have to go forward in the right direction for conservation and xeriscaping all our common areas, including our homes. Okay, so that was one thing that I think should have been brought up yesterday. Let's get a list of those plants, and that's what we want to encourage people to plant on their own properties. The other thing I'd like to address is maybe you can put something in the e-blast or the Spirit saying that, you know, as you're replacing your plants from the landscape, these are some suggestions. And there should be a hotline or something that we can call when we see the water sprouting on common areas, you know, that you can call and say, hey, you know what, if somebody doesn't report that we're wasting all that water, So that's just my,
I think that phone number is management.
is what?
The phone number to call would be management, right, Sandy?
That's correct. We get calls all the time about people reporting irrigation issues and so forth in the common area, or a neighbor sees a residential home when they're walking and they'll report that they see an irrigation leak or something.
But, it should be like in an e-blast, report the water usage.
Fair enough. I think we just did one of those in spirit.
Okay, I might add that the first service residential people that take care of Anthem Council just recently communicated with me and Art in regards to contact phone numbers. Now, the Anthem Council people have a 24-hour number that you can call and report. And that number, if you would like it, the contact person is Rochelle Bogle, B-O-G-E-L, Rochelle. And the 24-hour number is 702-737-8580. And that is for concerns in the Anthem Council area, not our area. And so that's one more tool that we'll have to separate this responsibility.
Can you repeat the number, please?
The number is 702-737-8580.
Okay, next.
I am Rob Berry from Village, and his Pat's opening comments, I almost wish this meeting would have happened yesterday, instead of yesterday's meeting, because it was very enlightening to hear that the concern is for the water shortage that we have in Oklahoma. And I just wanted to clarify in my comments yesterday, I had said I went to the Southern Nevada Water Authority, I went to their site. I Googled them, and in doing so, recognized that there was their limitation of 50%, and I don't know as far as how this applies to the common areas. For our individual homes, we're limited to 33% for a synthetic turf in the front and 50% in the back. And I was just inquiring as to why that, maybe that's a different issue for the committee. And I have to commend the committee and all your expertise.
Rob, that comment is very appropriate, but it's more applicable to the ARC group that can answer that. Yeah.
And the other thing I brought up was the tree roots impeding on common area walls.
Oh yeah, the big issue.
Yeah. And a lot of that is the sway and the wind loss. It's the roots that are pushing against the wall. You see the cracks. So I'm glad to hear you're addressing it again. Thank you for all your effort. Board.
And you're welcome to come to our Tuesday meetings once a month.
Next.
Hi, good morning. Mike Waterhouse from Ridgecrest. I just want to thank the entire committees for all their work and the history going into this. As recently as about 3 or 4 years ago, even the community patrol got involved in this in terms of the line of sight issues that have been discussed earlier. Line of sight being a critical area not only for our routine patrolling, controlled by the golf course, controlled by Anthem Council, and controlled by our own Anthem management team here with the common areas. And we made surveys at the time identifying problem areas from all these group responsibilities and reported back. One of the concerns was we got resistance at the time from Anthem Council in terms of denying the problem, even though we pointed it out to them in terms of drive-arounds with them. But now what I want to do is thank Art Lindbergh very much, because I've noticed not only a change in terms of the activities on this, but a change in tone and a change of attention to a much more positive influence from the community that we have towards Anthem Council. And that's largely due to Art's efforts over this period of time. I want to thank him. I feel much more that we're being taken care of in the long run. The other thing that xeriscaping and lower growth promotes, in addition to the conservation which we badly need around here, is the idea that the lower growth promotes line of sight issues as we go forward on this, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. I know the long-term run out of $200,000 a year takes time, but in the meantime, perhaps not replacing every tall growth plant each time around would be the best idea going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to your comments, Mike, in regards to the line of sight issue in the Anthem Council areas, I might inform all of us here is that the Anthem Council would love to hear us. They have quarterly meetings. They only meet 4 times a year. Their next meeting is November 15th at 3 p.m. over at Solera in their community center. And I would encourage all of us to go there and to express those concerns, because obviously the elephant in the room today is Anthem Council.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah.
I have one comment. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. When you said replacing tall plants and trees with other tall plants and trees, the first project the committee was involved in was some prioritization of where we saw all the immediate problems. And one of those was a small community called Black Mountain. The loop around Black Mountain, at least 3/4 of the loop is ours. The part, obviously, in the parkway is not. But we noticed that we had a lot of dead trees there. In fact, Bruce made us hop in his golf cart and examine every tree all the way around the loop, and every bush and every weed. As a result of that, when some money came up that was available, at the time there was no money in the reserve, we used that and removed 127 dead trees from Black Mountain. And if you drive around Black Mountain today, you probably won't notice very many trees missing, because it was massively overplanted. And many of the trees of that were planted there were simply not for this climate. It was just made to look pretty to sell houses. So what we did was we did not replace anything. All right, we simply made sure that we had enough density there so it looked nice, and we got rid of all the stuff that really was dead. So that is our general mode of operation here. And obviously, if you really need to have a plant someplace, we'll probably have to replace it. But we're going to try to go in the future, area by area, as we do this improvement, starting with the area right around here. And meanwhile, the day-to-day maintenance will be for things where somebody dies and it really does need to be replaced. If it doesn't need to be replaced, we're not going to replace it.
In regards to the line of sight issue, it's my understanding, working with the Brightview management people, Mr. Perk, and he has informed us that their line of sight has to include 400 feet from the intersection on these medians and the planters to where the plants are no higher than 2 feet. 400 feet back, and that's being corrected as we speak.
Okay, one more comment?
My name is Robin Reno. I live on Melissa J. And this is really great information, and I thank you for all this. And I'm thinking that many people are here because they thought it was about their individual homes. That's what I thought, but I'm glad I'm here to hear this. This is, it's obviously very important. But is there going to be a similar meeting or workshop?
There was a workshop yesterday that
Okay.
dealt with
So that was
compliance.
it, there's nothing else?
Well, no other workshops, but
Okay.
if you have any
No,
concerns.
we will hold some more of those very same workshops, so I just, I hope you signed up to get e-blasts from the community.
Yeah, I just wanted to word it out, so.
Yeah, there'll be more.
Okay, all right, I just heard talking about it.
Anita D'Souza, Villa Representative. I just want to point out to management and the committees and so on, that here we're talking about a small area paid for by a large group of people, with 7,400 homeowners that are paying for the small areas that have changed in the common area of SCA. You mentioned the villas. The villas are just the opposite. We have large landscape areas with very few people who pay for them. As Forrest mentioned, management or the reserve specialist just added $1 million in irrigation lines and valves and so on, replacements for the villas. That's a huge amount of money for 162 people to pay for. I understood from Sean, or maybe you know, Bruce, I thought there was some research done on the savings per square foot of turf removed in water savings and the average cost to remove and replace turf. And
Yes.
I thought he was going to present that today. I
Yes, he was.
He's not here.
2 weeks ago, I happened to be in Sean Evans' office, and we did a little exercise with his computer and the figures that we had available to us. And he was able to project out in front of me, and maybe Gary, you were there, the actual savings over the years. I don't have those figures, and obviously Sean's not here, but it was very interesting. It wasn't a huge savings, but it was significant.
Actually, when I talked to him about it, we looked at the numbers, the conclusion was it wouldn't be cost effective for the villas. But I was hoping to see some of those numbers here today.
Unfortunately, Sean's not here, and he doesn't, we don't have those figures.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap it up. One more comment, please.
Good morning, Larry from Oil.
Is this here now?
Yeah,
Larry from Oil Vista. I would just like to make one suggestion. I'm new here, only been here 6 or 7 months. One of the most beautiful things about this community up here is the view of the city and the city lights and stuff. But what I'm seeing is all of these trees that are growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're blocking that view. So as they get replaced, if we do something a little bit smaller, maybe you get dwarf tree or something like that won't block that view.
We can consider that. Thank you.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been very helpful. We hope that you benefited and gained some information about future landscape plans. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is not the end of the discussion. This is just the beginning. As we roll out the new landscape plans, we'll be holding additional workshops. So thank you again for coming.